like you, this Samaritan woman could have said, well, I've been married 5 times. Well, nobody values me. Well, I just go about doing my daily business. The guy I'm with now won't even marry me now. Wow. But what story are you telling yourself in your head about why you would not be able to receive a second chance? Jesus told this woman about her past, but he didn't condemn her. And he did not condemn her to stay stuck in her past. You might well say, okay, well, that's good for her, but I got mental health issues. I got baggage from my childhood. I got parents who didn't love me. I got way too much depression and things going on. Abraham Lincoln could have said the same thing. He was a man from a poor family. Did you all know that Abraham Lincoln failed twice in business? Yes. 2 nervous breakdowns. Oh, Lord. Lost when he ran for Congress. Lost twice when he ran for Senate. Lost as a vice presidential candidate, and then goes on to become the 16th president of the United States. Won re-election and is known to many as one of the greatest presidents in our history. Look at that. God can change your circumstances. You might say, well, that's not my problem. I'm a woman. I'm black. I'm from nowhere. I'm from Mississippi. I'm from Texas. Oprah Winfrey arrived in Baltimore at 22 for her first news anchor job. Well, don't you know, 8 months later, she was fired. Can anyone relate to that? Anybody been fired just to get a dream job and then been fired or laid off? Maybe they had cuts? Yep. She gets fired 8 months later, and it's very public, and it's very embarrassing. She was bragging, you know how we do. Hey, y'all, I'm going to Baltimore. I'm going to be on the news. Her family was probably looking for her. What happened, Oprah? We was looking on the news. We didn't see you. So, oh, Lord, I got fired from that job. It was very public and very embarrassing. But look, 34 years later, she went on to become the queen of daytime TV. Her show lasted 25 years, and the woman's worth $3 billion. Can you say hallelujah? Hallelujah. Amen. God is a God of another chance. Colonel Sanders. Who eats Kentucky Fried Chicken? Well, you know they got the grilled version now. I know you're being healthy. You can eat the grilled chicken, but you ought to know I don't eat the grilled chicken. I want the fried chicken. But Colonel Sanders was 65. So you could say you're too old, but that won't work. He was 65 when he started his business. He was retired and broke. He had been in the restaurant business for a long time, and his last restaurant, because they built some new stuff, went busted. He lived in his car. He had $105 a month Social Security check. He lived in his car for 2 years, going door to door, going to different restaurants saying, will you sponsor my recipe? Will you buy the rights to my recipe? Will you cook my chicken in your restaurant? He was rejected 1,009 times before the 1,010th person said, yeah, I'll use your recipe. Can you believe that? A 65-year-old man going around and rejected 1,000 times. Who wants to give up when they're rejected one time? You got feelings hurt. But this man kept going. He kept persevering, and God gave him another chance, and another chance, and another chance, and another chance. So God is not just the God of second chances. God is the God of another chance. And because Colonel Sanders didn't give up, 9 years later, in his 70s, he had 600 franchises and was able to sell his company for $2 million, which was a lot back in those days, in the 1970s. And he became the world's second most recognizable celebrity with finger licking good, right? As a household catchphrase. God is a God of another chance. These are natural examples. But if it can happen for people in business, if it can happen for people in the food industry, if it can happen in politics, how much more can it happen for those of us who are children of God, who are believers in that one who could give the eternal water at the well, Jesus, the one who gives us not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but a whole bunch of chances. Time and time again, we see natural examples of people for whom it was over. Done data. Kaput. Finished. It's over. Done. You can't go anywhere more. But these natural examples should inspire us. In my own story, when I was a senior in high school, well, first let me say this. I went to a school called Chadwick School. So you all will often hear my brother's story about how he's so proud, Compton Tar-Bates, Compton schools, and all of that good stuff. And my younger brother, Kenneth, and I went to my mom's Montessori school when we were young, and it burned down. And at the time, they talked to some friends, and they heard about a good school. So I don't get to share in that Compton pride, but I can't really fault Chadwick because it was a good school. But they sent us to this school, and we took a bus there, and we went there every day. And I felt kind of out of sorts when I went there. I never felt like I quite fit. It was a predominantly white school, and of course I could say, well, I'm always the only black girl in the room, or I don't feel like these people know me, or, I don't find my groove and my vibe here. But I went there from 2nd grade to 12th grade, and I was just always kind of trying to find my way. Y'all, let me tell you something. I was not a good student. Part of the time, I was in the clouds dreaming about what creative projects I was going to write, which today I am a writer. And the other time, I was struggling. I wanted to be so perfect and please my parents so much that I would wait to turn in assignments. The assignment would start off as an A. I would turn it in several days late, and by the time it was a C or a D. That was the story of my life. And by the time I finished Chadwick School in the 12th grade, I always excelled at Spanish, and I spoke Spanish proficiently. And I was supposed to take the Spanish AP exam. And don't you know I didn't show up for that exam? And they told my mother, they said, you know what? Camille Tucker is going to walk across that stage, and there is not going to be any diploma in that thing. We're going to give her a little blue thing, and there will be no diploma in it until she takes this makeup exam, because we are not going to have her graduate without having fulfilled that. Well, Martha Tucker, you don't know my mother. First thing she did was she said, you aren't going. I was set to go to school in Washington, D.C. I was going to be near my other brother at Howard, which we all know Howard is a great school and a great fun school. And I was, I'm heading to Howard. She said, no, you're going to stay here and you're going to go to UCLA where I can keep my eye on you. And the next thing you're going to do is you are going to get and go up to that school and take that makeup exam. And I had a lot of nerves about taking the exam. The reason I didn't take it really because I didn't think I was going to do well. And that was no real reason. The Lord didn't have the Lord at that point. But I ended up taking the exam. I ended up going to UCLA. And let me tell you, the story didn't get better from there. My first semester at UCLA, I was like, well, I didn't get to make it out to the Howard crew, but I made it to the UCLA crew. College life. Woo! Hey, ho, hey, ho. I just wanted to experience a college experience. Do you know they sent a letter home to my parents and they said, Camille Tucker is about to flunk out of UCLA. If she doesn't get her GPA up to a 2.7 or a 3.0, I can't remember exactly what it was, she's going to be out by next fall. And she'll have to go to another school and get her GPA or something up. Now, some of you knew my father and some of you didn't, but Walter Tucker said, Millie, I didn't send you up there to be wasting my time. You flunk out of that school, you won't get a job. So I was scared by the wrath of 6'2" Dr. Walter Tucker, and I started to get my life together. So the girl who could not get a D or a C and almost flunked out of UCLA had another chance. When I went to graduate school at Fuller Seminary, my GPA was a 3.75. And I'm headed to get a second master's degree with a 3.8. Praise God! But I just want to say, I could have given up. I could have actually given up when I was at UCLA. I could have just said, forget it, school's not for me. I had the option to get a job, but God didn't just give me, and believe me, and that was the short version of the story. It didn't get quite perfect after that. But I eventually began to believe that God was trying to use me for something bigger. and that he was giving me another chance. And I went to see the counselors, and I found out what my GPA was, and I found out what classes I needed to take, and I found out what help I needed to get, and I got tutors for the classes that I didn't like, namely math and science. And I started to do well in the classes that I did love, creative writing and acting and all of those classes. And I finally did graduate, and as I said, and I'm a professor now. How is it the girl that almost fell out of school could be a professor? Oh, Lord Jesus. That's why I tell my students, I'm like, don't try to put it past me, because I know all the secrets and all the tricks. I was that student. But if I had not believed that Jesus could use me for something, I would have given up. But God was a God of another chance. And now, so many of those things that happened that I learned when I fell down and had to get back up, I use them and I apply them to my life now. I want you to look at a clip. How do I do this? Can you press that? Let's start. Will it not? You can't do it? What if you take it out of that mode just for a bit to put it? Or maybe you could drag it off and do it on the, you think you got it? Sometimes it might be mirroring or something. We have to see the clip. We have to see it. Oh, Jesus. Work it out, work it out, work it out, work it out. It should work. You could drag the clip out and put it on the desktop and maybe open it up as a QuickTime, maybe. If it won't work there, you could copy it. Normally when I'm lecturing and I have clips and stuff, it's usually pretty easy. Is it looking like a no? You might have